come first. Therefore, let me invite Miss Evgenia Bliznyuk. She is the head of the sociological company Radus. Greetings, everyone. One, two, three. Yes, I will be somewhere here. I'm sorry, those that will not see me or I will not see you. Can I get the presentation up on the screen? Hello. Can I have the slides on the screen? Okay. Okay, well, especially for KMEF, the KIEF International Economic Forum today, we have conducted a huge study of young people abroad that we named Home is Best. How do we compete for our young people that left, that went abroad? In May this year, we have looked at the factors that promote the Ukrainians to come back and those that hold them back from doing it. And we see now that the main factors, if we talk about the factors of return, they are still lower than the factors that are keeping them back in the European countries. But the factors of return are growing and they're mostly emotional. People are being nostalgic. It's their fact that they're accustomed to living in Ukraine. It is a social support, and another important factor is the ratio of the cost and standard of living. So staying back still wins over. It's the quality of life abroad, the safety of the future, the perspectives, and their potential, the perspective in the future, and some doubts about the quality of life upon return. We went to talk to our young people abroad. It was not only a quantitative study. Normally, I demonstrate graphs and figures, but today I will be talking about trends and tendencies because qualitative study is a small group of people that we interviewed. Every interview lasted for 2 hours. We had a very detailed study. Так можу забрати, я ж за своє відпрацювала.
The switcher isn't working. So what is the superpower, super strength of our young people, Ukrainians, who for 3.5 years have been abroad? So their first super strength is they're Westerners, they're Europeans. They sort of like grew up there, in fact, because 3.5 years and this young age, it's a really big spell of time. They're multilingual. In 3.5 years, they've managed to learn at least one foreign language of the countries of their temporary shelter country, maybe even 2 or 3, because for Europeans, knowing another language in addition to their native language is a norm, because they know different linguistic group languages, which are representatives of their neighboring countries. So they're global. They are willing not to be attached to a specific country, not to be attached to a specific locality. And it's important for them to feel that the borders are open and relocate easily from country to country. They're super agile. They keep changing their mind. Don't think that this is a drawback. Today they plan one, tomorrow the situation changes and they will opt out of this plan and go for something different. They're super fast because the world is fast-paced and they're on the same wavelength with the world. They're not going to hesitate. Their life priorities, what are they? Freedom, this is the baseline thing, a basic need, and this is manifested in a variety of different things like language. Don't tell me which language to speak. Place of residence. Don't indicate which country I have to settle in. So for them, freedom is a great strength. If you communicate with this group of people correctly without letting them forget who they are. They are highly adaptive, but adaptation for them is a high level of being ready to deal and cope with different types of assignments or tasks to tackle. Maybe boxing gloves is not the right illustration for that, but still they're ready for interacting with the reality. They are individuals. They build their individual life strategies, which means I look up to what I want, what I need, and what I think needs to be part and parcel of my life. They are high individuals, highly expressed individuals. And another priority they have for themselves is a standard of living. Average-aged people, middle-aged people, if they had for a priority to have different status symbols, these young people opt for the joy of life. And they are suffering from burnout. They are burned out. That's something we were able to see in the majority of our interviews. It's hard for them. This internal conflict is a tough thing for them when they feel that they should be in Ukraine, and as opposed to that, they're abroad. So it's highly exhausting. No one is talking to them about how it should be, how they should get out of this way. So they're in a conundrum and left alone. This is a painful, a rankling issue for them. So barriers for returning. Closed borders, number one. We've been able to witness that they are freedom-loving, and this is scary for them. Lacking the picture of the future here in Ukraine, they will tell me, okay, I will come back to Ukraine, and what will I do there? Lack of communication makes this void of understanding for them, of the opportunities, understanding of how they can be helpful here. Social capital in the new countries is a great barrier for them to combat. What do we mean by the social barrier? For example, the first love, new friends, new environment, new opportunities. Just think back to yourselves in your university years when, if you had been told, let's go and move to another place, when you had a boyfriend, and next Friday, for example, you were going for a hiking trip somewhere with all of your group mates. It was very difficult. They're skeptical to overcome some systemic problems. For Ukrainians, young Ukrainians abroad, it's a big, big issue, because they have doubts that corruption can be overcome, that Ukraine will be able to overcome all of those post-war challenges for recovery and reconstruction. For them, all of these things are still in suspension. So what are the magnets, some pulling power for them to come back to Ukraine? It's the ratio of the standard of living and quality of life. I always joke that for young Ukrainians and older age Ukrainians living abroad, patriotism begins with the question, what is your tax residence? And everyone immediately remembers that they're citizens of Ukraine, that they dwell in Ukraine. And this ratio of quality and standard of life here in this country, maybe it's not like it used to be before the war, but it's still something that anchors them. And these social connections is a form of patriotism. No hiding from it. Still they have relatives, friends, some contacts are still being kept. And their native environment is something that calls a lot of positive emotions, evokes positive emotions in them. Young people are ready not to ignore, not to neglect this aspect. They sincerely believe in serious changes and the potential of the country. Although they see a great many challenges and impediments to the recovery may be due to their age. They're highly optimistic. From the standpoint of Ukraine's future, they believe that Ukraine will bloom one day, and their strategy, this is the same. It's like a carbon copy from each and every one of them. Multipolarity, it's a very popular geopolitical term, a category to operate. However, young people are willing not to take final decisions, ultimate decisions, and not to say, I reside in Germany or in Spain, or I live in Ukraine. Instead, they want to feel a list of the countries that they belong to. And I think it's a very good piece of news for us as a country, because Ukraine, up until now, still belongs, still is on this list. And our task is to just go higher on this list of priority. But we mustn't set any ultimate requirements for them to make a final decision and make sure that they get back 100% to Ukraine and integrate in Ukraine, because they will immediately perceive it as a restriction or a limitation forced on them. So you can scan this report by this QR code. All of these slides will also be made available. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Ms. Evgenia. As I was listening to you, I still failed to understand. On the one hand, I did understand that emotionally they are attracted to Ukraine, but their mind wouldn't let them go. Yeah, unfortunately. All right. Now I think with our panelists, we're going to engage in a very interesting discussion called In People with Trust. So we are inviting all of the panelists to come up and take their seats. All right. I think the time is very little. I'm not going to make a big intro, so without much ado, let me say that today we will be speaking about the value of people, their potential, human capital in particular. We will speak about the way that we do trust in people. And the previous discussion was finished with the slogan that this country will be rebuilt by entrepreneurs. But all of them are people. But for people, this country will not exist. So this is the most precious capital and treasure that this country possesses. This war has demonstrated and let everyone understand that a new country is being created. New Ukrainians are being generated. That has vastly impressed the world with their courage, obstinacy, and thirst for life. But this war has regrettably demonstrated that this human potential, this human capital is not inexhaustive. Our defenders, men and women, regrettably are dying on the front. Millions of people have left Ukraine, and Ms. Evgenia has just told us about young people, and it just hurts me so much because millions of our young people are abroad. And I will be open with you that they are not coming back, and they will continue fleeing Ukraine. Veterans are coming back from the front line, and you know that the condition, the physical and mental state is real tough. So we have to welcome them and integrate them in our civilian life with a lot of love and tenderness. But despite all odds, we keep living, and I do believe in our victory. I do believe that Ukrainians will prevail, and all of the challenges and obstacles we are facing today we will overcome them. So we will be speaking about this, the human capital, the disbalance in the labor market, that we have to get Ukrainians back and do it now. Even at the beginning of the war, the same was the matter at stake. So we need to also do a lot for our veterans. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our panelists to you. Zoya Litvin, the founder of the Public Union Osvitory and head of the BEF in KIEF organization. Artur Michno, CEO and co-founder of WorkUA. Hello, Artur. Alexei Chernenko, Biko, the chief of the First International Bank in Ukraine, Timofey Brik, director of Kiev School of Economics. It's a pleasure, and Kirilo Krivala, managing partner of Civita in Ukraine, co-founder of the Center for Economic Recovery. Hello and welcome to all of you. It's a great pleasure to see you. Ms. Yevgenia has just presented to us the sociological survey. You had the title, Is It Better at Home? Was an interesting title. A lot of your figures in your study testify to the fact that people are getting ready to come back. However, they are bringing forth different terms and conditions, and it's not only to do with security, it's also housing quality, education, quality employment, and security. So in the first place, I would like us to start with education, because educated people who from tender age understand the difference between good and evil, means so much, and I think that educated people will save Ukraine. So the first question is, recently I gave a lift to my neighbor who is a retired teacher. I gave her a lift to the underground, and I said, so how are you? And she said, I cannot retire from school because young teachers are not willing to come to school, salaries are so low. And I can see that they want to have young teachers instead of as old as me, who understands what is Instagram, gadgets, who can utilize all of these digital technologies. But my schoolmaster won't let go of me. They understand that sometimes they get bored with me as a teacher. I know that 40% of young teachers want to give up on this job because doing it is not much of fun. So how can we overpower that? Thank you for your question. I would probably start by speaking about why I'm a member of this panel, because we are on an economic forum. We're talking about human capital, but the majority will agree with me that the quality of human capital in Ukraine cannot supersede the quality of the educational system in this country. So your question is really apt, because the quality of education of this country cannot supersede the quality of the teachers available in this country. We have a lot of numbers. We also do a lot of measures. We like measuring things in our team. And within the full-scale invasion, 2 years, 40,000 teachers left this job due to burnout or due to fleeing this country. It's always difficult to be a teacher, let alone during the war. So it's additionally regrettable that out of this 40,000, 15,000 are young teachers. So their number has declined by 1.5 times. And you're right. The reasons to demotivate people to stay within this occupation are two: salaries and bureaucracy. We were vastly surprised.
I was surprised that the bureaucracy and the red tape is one of the most demotivating factors, where the teacher cannot fully concentrate on the good parts of the job. Is communication with children, where they're forced to put together certain reports, just paper for the sake of paper that nobody really reads. And factor number two is the salary, and I will not provide any unique insights. Ukrainian salary of a teacher is the lowest in Europe, and of course it will not work for young people if it's a young family where they cannot really survive on this salary if we're talking about young teachers, compared to the more experienced teachers that have additional bonuses. And the young people said that we're working in the rural area as a teacher as part of a grant project, but when the grant project is over, I will not be able to stay there in this job, because I will not be able to even have enough money to rent a flat. But if we want to stay positive, the budget of Ukraine for the next year covers 66.5 billion hryvnias to pay teachers' salaries, and their salaries will be increased by 20, 30, and 50% potentially. And it's also another thing that's being negotiated now is creating a platform that will unite the employees of the educational sphere. We truly hope that it will become better, and starting January 1st, the people, teachers working in the frontline areas will get 4,000 hryvnia more. But we do admit that there is tremendous shortage of teachers. I do believe that the children need to be taught how do we overcome this shortage. Well, the best approach to overcome this would be to engage more teachers, because the best teacher online, the best video, but it is if it's not face to face but online as a recording, the learning outcomes are much less. Um, but there can be digital tools that can provide really good outcomes. It's all Ukrainian online school can provide a way for children to be engaged in education in frontline areas, and it's a wonderful bridge to communication with children that are abroad. And I'm surprised to find out that there are so many of them engaged in this kind of education style, and they do hope to return to the Ukrainian educational system. It's 2 million of active users. We were very impressed because it's almost full house. We have 4,000 registrations of children from abroad, and also a few other numbers that we're proud of. It's 6,000 of students that engaged from the Crimea, Luhansk, Donetsk, starting with 2014. They did not have this opportunity, but now there are 6,000 of them. Starting with 2022, there are 36,000 that are engaged in this style of studying. So this can overcome, this can help bridge the gap. Also, AI for tutorship is also a solution, but I believe that it would be best to engage teachers and motivate them with proper salary. Another question, the moms that I communicate with, they have split into two camps. One say that in the 5th grade they only do the multiplication table and our system is much better. I'm going to come back to Ukraine because I see that my child is degrading. And other moms say that the level of education is good. I do believe that it also depends on the country, but on the contrary, I'm very happy. For example, one mom told me that in France, the way that they do physical training is half a year they play tennis, another half year they go to the swimming pool, another 6 months they play handball, another 6 months they have play basketball, and this is how they discover the sporting talents. And I'm not going anywhere because my child has learned the language and now I'm enjoying this system of education. Can you give us a general overview of the European approach? Because there are many children and parents that are abroad. Are they in general satisfied with the quality of education abroad? And there are also lots of advantages for our system. I think you're taking a very broad perspective. I do not know if there are any studies regarding the level of satisfaction of the education abroad. Because of the war, the quality of the educational system in Ukraine has suffered. For example, we have conducted a PISA test that compares the outcomes of the educational system of different countries, and 50% of our children are able to reach the baseline level of knowledge in math compared to on the national level, and the basic level on literacy, it's a 60%, and it is the basis. But of course, the war does affect the process. But despite all of the problems compared to reference countries, Moldova, Romania, and Georgia, our system of education still shows better learning outcomes. But compared to other European countries, we are rather behind, and it's important to note because education is also a very important demographic instrument. Nothing else promotes childbirth and a return of people back to the country, but the quality system of education. Also, in this regard, we need to mention the kindergarten that are publicly available. There are 5 candidates per one place, and school facilities are damaged or ruined, but the recovery process is ongoing. And I place tremendous hopes onto the reforms, especially the high school education. One of the top speakers today, Kirilo Budanov, he mentioned the absence of the general plan. So let me conclude by saying that the system of education is good quality if it works according to the state program. So this is what we lack. Thank you so much. And if we have any questions, well, actually, I would really love it to be a discussion because monologues are nice, but it would really be nice to promote a discussion. I see that Artur Michno is the head of the company Work UA. He's listening very carefully. On your website, are there vacancies for are people looking for jobs as teachers or kindergarten teachers? Yeah, think that there are. I won't claim that it's frequent, but our platform is not the main tool for looking for this kind of a job, but they do understand that if they want to work in an educational establishment, then they would take a different vector. They would use a different tool for this kind of job search. But let me share something with you. Today, the opportunity for all who want to grow career-wise or make the first steps, it is an unprecedented opportunity. Over 45% of vacancies that are currently on the platform Work UA, it's over 110,000 vacancies daily. There are no requirements regarding the experience. The companies do realize the crisis and they are willing to train. And I believe that if we talk about the subject of education, I would say that especially for larger enterprises, it is important to think strategically about putting together and growing their own internal education system, the transfer of experience, the onboarding integration, because every person can learn rather quickly. They can learn skills, gain the proper experience, and at the moment there are quite a lot of options for short-term training where a person just coming back home from school can upgrade their potential. Therefore, to the state program regarding what is happening on the part of the state, especially taking into account the subject of our economic forum, there are a lot of business representatives present. We need to really think about how to structure and design the processes in a way that education is included in the picture. There is a lot of talk at the moment, and it has been a month past this decision of the state where the young people were allowed to cross the border to leave the country, and 43% of businesses have felt the impact of this. Did you? Yes, we conducted a survey, and I would mention two components. First of all, we interviewed over 1,000 of various companies that are looking for employees, whether it hit them or not. 37% said that they did. They did suffer from it. But of course, this percentage is higher with the companies that have over 1,000 employees. But saying that we can see a catastrophic situation, we would not go as far as to say that. And it's not just the information that we can draw from the survey. We can see the resumes, the CVs that are placed by certain age groups and the way that respond to vacancies. That could probably be the main factor that gives us an idea about the state of things. Therefore, we can see 5% shift for responses and 4% decrease in the resume placement from 18 to 22. If there is certain impact and implication, of course, yes, but is it spectacular or is it a game changer, then in general, I would not say so. I would call it maybe like 1% shift. So all over the country, we do see a problem, but the several businesses did feel the implications. There was a representative from Metinvest, and they confirmed that it really hit them hard. But then let us think about what kept the people in their job. Was it just the relief from the conscription, or was it something else? So this is some food for thought. Just one more question for you. If you're a person who are also researching the job market, there was this imbalance even before the war where there are too many lawyers, managers, and there was a shortage of electricians and engineers. How can this imbalance be overcome? Yeah, that's a great question. But of course, we could claim that and to give a basic reply regarding what can be done on behalf of the state. There can also be something that can be done by the companies, but I believe that something that is not so commonplace as a response, I would say that such cases are there, and it is communication actually. It is promoting those professions, making them more prestigious. Of course, they need to be paid enough, they need to offer due conditions, prestige, and the realization of the fact that the person working as a geodesist, they can be making 70,000 grivnas, and it can be really an exciting job, and how this can make a difference, it is not very widely known. So this kind of communication is critical here. Let me share something that we have started a project with a TED TV channel, just raising awareness about certain professions, about how a person can grow and can be a profession and consider a profession that maybe did not come to their mind. And secondly, I believe it's nonetheless important that the companies, especially those that want to be leaders, they need to make the idea of joining the company something more than a chance to make money. And using this opportunity, let me promote this magazine, Second Navigation. It is a non-commercial edition. You can take it for free. We are trying. Our goal is to talk about businesses where their function is not solely generating profit, but also make it part of a business strategy to carry certain mission and sense and value, develop, promote the culture of Ukraine, integrating certain social models.
Personally, I'm sure that now is the time of building new strategies for the next year. A strategy of a company development can contain some really sensitive and sensible things for the people who are working for this company and for those who would like to get involved. And this definitely become a gravitational point and an anchoring thing. Once people understand why they're working for this company, that they're creating not just going to work, making some products or items and earn money. So involving such people and communicating these ideas to them, it's an incredible part. So I do advise you to read this material. Let me also advertise this about EFI Group. Igor Liski was here with us today. I'm not speaking about myself, about them as promotion. So by way of creating these strategies, we can undertake serious steps to involve people not only with money but ideas. The more we have these in place, the fewer people will be outflowing the country. Thank you. Now that we are talking about working occupations and about vocational education. I would like to involve Timofey Brik, who is director of the Kiev School of Economy. I know that in addition to business schools and the institute, another important element of your work is also vocational training. Can you tell us about your occupations that you are teaching, and why did you decide to go for that? Yes, that's a very important question. Why a sociologist from the Kiev School of Economy will be speaking about vocational education and training, but this is the context in which we find ourselves. All of the analysts working for the government, the academia, businesses, all of them do agree that engineering occupations are the most important core ensuring the future of Ukraine, because there will be a lot of recovery and reconstruction in the future. If we imagine even the most optimistic case scenario after the end of the war, when we visualize our way of life, as opposed to that, what our military is doing right now with our drones and militech, all of this is of dual use, right? What they're doing right now on the front line, this could easily be translated into some other ways of application, for example, deliveries of food or something of the kind, because someone has to produce these innovations and to ensure that we will participate in the global labor market. Therefore, our university decided to enter VET. And it's important to underscore all of the studies speak univocally that we have another important thing in place, something that economists call a structural gap. It's when you seemingly have people looking for employment, and seemingly you have vacancies, there is employment, but they fail to meet each other. So these employment opportunities and people don't match. So if we analyze this gap, and its manifestation, it's to do with people's skills. People lack the proper skills to get new occupations. You can imagine if an IDP who used to work all of their lives in a chemical industry gets relocated to Khmelnytsk region, where agrarian industry is developed, so they require another set of skills. Or due to war, all of the men get mobilized, and women have to become tractor drivers, so they have to gain them. Whoever is faster at that will be a winner in the labor market. So VET is of utmost importance. We have only just started. We work only with adults. When I say adults, I mean not pupils after the 8th grade. I'm talking about people age 30 plus. First of all, we work with the operators of different kinds of robotics. We have welders, mechanics, a lot of different occupations. It's 120 people so far who are our graduates. Some 9 months ago we began this program, but we already have 90 alumni, 16 of them who are ex-veterans. So this is a very good, promising avenue for veterans who in some 4 to 6 weeks get requalified and obtain new employment. So we'll definitely have very good employment opportunities. Thank you for this brilliant initiative. I would also like to thank you for another initiative of yours, the program Factor, which I work for a long time now for. You had a fantastic project, Come Back Home, meant for students based abroad, young people, girls and boys who would like to come and study here in Ukraine. You provided tuition to them free of charge, and there were so many such students, and we even made a report about such a student. Is this project still ongoing? It is, and it's a huge challenge for us all, how to get young people back. Whether we have to get them back now, or do we have to wait until they finish their studies, there is no a specific answer to that. It's just a pilot version which we are running. So right now we are speaking in very small numbers. Every year we encourage some 5-6 students to come back. Of course, we need to scale it up. So scholarships is one of the attraction points. If a Ukrainian was forced to leave Ukraine as a result of the war, now they would like to come back to Ukraine. So we allow them these opportunities due to grants, scholarships. People are coming back from Germany, Britain, Spain. This year it's 5, last year it was 4. And I think step by step we have to build such a system to enable these young people to come back in greater numbers. So foreign students, we had a Colombian student who's going to come to Ukraine, also are welcome to come. So we can set up centers to attract people to come, but it's a long pathway to cover. We can't just be optimistic about that. We really have to put a lot of effort to make sure that every single individual will come back. I know we have heard about it and made a report that there was even some kind of hate. Why don't you help students here rather than attract the students from abroad? I am not supportive of this kind of a discussion, basically, but you say that we should, we ought to get these young students back. And it's of great significance. Your program is also gaining a swing. We thank you, KIEF School of Economics. You have enrolled a very qualitative studentship, and your students were the best because of the average scores that they had. Well, it all depends on how you calculate. In our industry, they use a great number of different metrics, starting with scoring system, the number of different academic Olympics that these young people have won. So you can play on with that no matter what matrix you may use. Sometimes we are top 1 or top 3 companies or institutions attracting such young people, but there are lots of other fine academia in Ukraine. So there's a highly paradoxical situation in place. In the first place, we have a great pool of talent. Every year, our teenagers win a great number of different mathematics, biology, or physics, academics worldwide. And then these talents have an opportunity either to go to classic universities here, like Shevchenko National University, or stay abroad, or take a risk and go for a new university like the KIEF School of Economics. So they are posed with the challenge how to make a proper choice and not to miss. I think it's also our responsibility to teach this talent in a way that they will realistically understand that they hit rather than miss, that they will achieve something important in their lives. There are lots of different universities, like math. Math is taught splendidly, and at KPI they also teach math splendidly. But there are some universities where people simply have a lot of bureaucracy, red tape, hierarchical approaches of sexual harassment even in place. So the talent is not much willing to go to such institutions. And if they go there, they will definitely get frustrated. So current universities are supposed to teach you not only hard skills, but also values, ensure freedom, leadership, and set of rules of how to become a successful individual. So you can say that today you are studying math, and tomorrow you can go for negotiations, and another day you will go to lecture. So this is not a lofty talk, but these are realistic instruments that are being taught to young people to avoid disillusionment and for them to go to the labor market and to prove to be more effective. And all of the universities have to work on that. Great. Thanks a lot for your work. Because we are dwelling on education, I would like to engage a banking story in our conversation. I'd like us to be joined by, pardon me, Sergei Chernenko, the first Ukrainian international bank. Mr. Sergei, I know that you have numerous projects to do with investments making into Ukraine's education. Tell us more about it. Something that I'm most proud of, it's of course our 8-year-long communication and collaboration with the KIEF School of Economy. We began back in the day when the KIEF School of Economy was still at a cringe, but we were inspired by their endeavors. I did believe in their aspirations, and it's my badge of pride that all of my hopes have been superseded, you know. They have definitely lived up to our expectations and much more. And we are a big community of businesses who keep getting together to help one another. So we cannot tackle all of the issues single-handedly, but once when we feel someone's shoulder by our shoulder, basically it adds this inspiration and trust and hope to keep moving. So this was a very difficult time when the full-scale invasion started, because we were thinking to ourselves, where shall we channel our money? Should we support just the army? And Timofey Milovanov, the then chief of the KIEF School of Economy, he said to us, we understand your decision, and to withdraw, for example, our support from the school. But still, our decision, I think, was definitely right, because this was the trend for the future. We don't know how much longer this war is going to stay with us, but we need to keep moving. And by way of this example of collaboration with the Kiev School of Economy, we began our communication with other university. Yeah, like this year, we added 10 scholarships for the Kiev Aviation University and 10 scholarships at KPI. So focusing on engineering specialties is of critical importance. We mustn't lose this focus. These jobs definitely have to thrive in Ukraine. And to our utmost surprise, in the environment of businesses which invest in education, this amount is about 100 million hryvnias to date. So basically, this is a very fine community of people. Do join us. Thank you. Mr. Sergei, what we need now is to make sure that we involve in our lives and in our way of work our veterans with love, with care and tenderness. And I know that you're also supportive of these projects. So tell us more, expand on that. Yes, we are pursuing two trends. First of all, we are trying to understand how to integrate veterans properly once they are back from the front line, how to find employment for them. It's a separate challenge to cope with. And basically, within the framework of that, last year we made a decision that we need to take a plunge and understand how veterans work. And we made a team of our employees, and we went to the Superhumans Center because they have a lot of different exercises, how people should be treated if they're in a wheelchair, for example, how they should overcome different impediments. And just putting yourselves in the shoes of these people immediately tells you loads. So this conversation was so inspirational for us, and we understood this was a huge niche with a great deal of problems. So we decided to set up a project called Living to Accommodate Others, Living Towards Others. So we created a hub where people can go to and obtain economic or psychological support in education, and together with Kiev School of Economics, KSC. Last year, we managed to collect some 300 participants who came for training, and we issued grants at the end of their educational period. And this year, the applications have grown in number. There are more than 400 in number, so the demand is growing. It's definitely one of the ways to help to get integrated on the one hand, whilst it's also a great boost to the economy, because for the most part, these people coming back, they are more mature in terms of their mentality, but in terms of their literacy, unfortunately, they have a great deal of requests of how to do it. Please help us. They have their own communities helping one another to write business cases and defend their grant applications. So we are joining in those programs. As far as I understand, banking is no exception to that, and you are suffering from the human resource shortage. Well, in our case, it's all down to automation. We cannot do in any other way. We cannot involve people, immigrants, for example, coming from abroad, because cultural difference and language difference is a barrier. So the only thing that we can opt for is automation, and it works very well, I should be frank with you, and lots of different instruments are emerging. So we are working on making sure that we are an attractive employer. This story began for me with the evolution of the fact when I tried to make our bank more client-oriented. And at some point, I heard a story that Disney was spreading at that time, that
in their Disneyland they needed to make a happy character. So it's the philosophy of happy you, happy client, and this is where we started. We started measuring and collecting information. We have a very big team, and it's rather diverse. And the problems, whether a person is coming from various departments, they are also different. So we took a systemic approach to be able to understand what the issues are, what the gaps are, to be able to fill those gaps. Do our systems and approaches for training and administration, do they work? And I do recommend this tool there is this tool, it's called Employee NPS, and it's very useful because it enables you to understand what the staff feels and what the problems are. And it is not always about money. Thank you so much. We have given so much attention to the Kiev School of Economics. We have recalled Timofey Milovanov, and he said that all Ukrainians need to be prepared, even if 50 or 70% of our refugees come back, and if the war finishes, and when it does, we will need to engage international staff. We will need to bring people from abroad to our job market. How do we prepare our Ukrainian public to this, and how can we return our Ukrainian people to this as already now? Let me give the floor to Kirill Krivolap from the Center of Economic Recovery. Mr. Kirill, kindly share your impressions from the survey that was presented by Ms. Evgenia. What did it make you think? Yes, the subject of the human capital is something that we have been studying for 5 years, and we have held dedicated events. And during the conference in Rome, I was the co-coordinator of this department about human capital. Therefore, I will need to give you more figures and talk about the elephants in the room. There are a few here around. The figures are the following. Honestly, for the country to survive, we need to double the GDP. The old one no longer balances our social fees and the defense. So we as a country will not be able to survive with all the state expenditures that are ongoing. We need to double this, and we can achieve this by the increasing the body count, because we have lost 30% of the population. Partly because of the occupied territories, and partly because of the lost people that went abroad. And the second approach is to increase the productivity of work, as was mentioned by Andres. Also, additionally, by the time of the full-scale invasion, we had a certain amount of workforce. Then it's dropped to 12%, and now if some of the people come back, they will still 2 million people will leave the job pool because of the elder age and so on. This is what makes us unable to double the GDP. Regarding those who come back, if they do, oh, yeah, I do believe that they will come back if we create the conditions. So theoretically, if you ask people, do you want to come back? 30% will say, well, in principle, I would. Okay, then when? During 1 year, 6% say yes. Then during 5 years, another 15% will say yes. But actually, it is the home where you can be someone, and this promise that you will be someone, will this be the promise that the state can keep. Regarding the return, all studies and all researches, they converge to say that maybe a third of people will come back just because it's homeland. Those will be the people who did not manage to find a job in the West. Maybe they don't have the skills, they don't have the abilities, and about 25% that have already decided they will stay abroad or may potentially never come back. Those are younger professionals with the skills, with the command of knowledge. It's the most difficult category to return. And then there is this middle part that is worth fighting for, but you will only be able to do it if you create the modern and the cool country. It is something that was done in Poland and Lithuania. Millions of people went abroad. They went to the UK, they went to other countries, but when they saw that the level of living, the standard of living is better in their home country, they they started to go back. Regarding the labor migrants, it's true that Ukrainians, despite the fact that we are multicultural, we are multi-ethnic, and we are fine with this kind of diversity. Regarding the the labor force, only 13% of companies and the Ministry of Economy are not very willing to accept labor migrants. They want to save the jobs for the ethnic Ukrainians. But honestly, if we take a look at the huge threats for us as a state, that we will not be able to assure the proper balance, we will either have to rely on the support from the West for decades, or we need um, to take an alternative scenario, not be so inertive. Therefore, we may discover that we do need labor migrants, and there used to be a quota that 3,000 work visas are required yearly. So, for example, if you want to bring in some uh, Indian workers, then they will only pull let through the managers, but it is the blue collar workers that we're actually lacking. Uh, and it is actually nobody guarantees that the Ukrainians will want to be those blue collars workers, but I believe that it is inevitable. We need to engage with a qualified workforce. Maybe we need to fulfill the promise, the pre-election promise of our president, claiming that the Polish workers will work in Ukraine. But it does happen a little bit. They're working on road construction. Oh yes, actually, it's true that the workers from Vietnam and from Turkey are coming to build the roads. But even Belarus workers, the Belarus IT community, they were not able to adapt after what Lukashenko did. A few Belarus workers came to Kiev to work, but they've left because they weren't able to stay because of the bureaucracy, and it was before the invasion. But it's a issue of survival. We need to be proactive in this. Who needs to be proactive? The countries that we like. It's the question for the Ministry of Economy. It's the resource that we're talking about, and you need to draw this resource for the country somewhere. So the workers pick a country that they like. For example, if we talk about the people from Philippines, we can create a recruiting center and engage with them. But I'm not really a proponent of this approach. We need to return our people. We have several million of work migrants and diaspora. Let us fight for our Ukrainians to bring them back. Who can do the fighting? I once went to the lecture of Emily Banova, and she said, to begin with, in big airports of Europe and Prague and Paris and London, let's put up a banner. Ukrainians, we're waiting for you. We want you back. It does not cost a lot of money, but it may really reassure some Ukrainians. But nothing is done. We did have a Ministry of Unity, but it almost closed down. But whose job is this? What needs to be done specifically now to cover this? The young people do not feel the connection. They claim that it feels as if we forgot about them. What can be done? We were actually studying this experience along with Yulia Sviridenko when she was Minister of Economy, the first deputy. We prepared her to the need of creating an agency. We studied the experience of Israel that needs to be done proactively. It is a very simple figure that we estimated. Our loss in terms of human capital, it's $500 billion over 5 years of underachieved GDP. It's the people that left and did not gain the skills. And another figure, it's about the future where we do not get the people back, they do not train, and they do not contribute. If you are a country, then investing into coming back and reskilling, it's a no-brainer because it makes sense. The stakes are high, and truly, with those who are in Ukraine, they are being reached out by various institutions, the MPs, executives, hosts, and abroad, no one reaches out to Ukrainians abroad. A few speakers, they do send a message to over there, and this is the question that was the Ministry of Unity was in charge of. This is what triggered the creation of hubs and certain messages, but now then due to their construction, this was passed over to the Ministry of Family and Unity, and the Deputy Minister that was working on the issue of Unity is now part of the Ministry of Social Policy, and the work is continuing, but some time was lost with this communication. But Ukrainians abroad need to be reached out. There must be some case management done. For example, there is a person in Berlin that wants to come back to Kharkiv, and they need to understand where they're going to live, where they're going to work. They need to know that there is a certain center that will be host them, that will give them some starting money. So it's just an example. Thank you so much, but the time is running out, and we are very happy to have all of the panelists here with us. But let us conclude with just one sentence concerning what you believe that needs to be done here and now to be able to support and promote the human capital. Let's start with you. How do I fit this in one sentence? Support education. And it's amazing that so many people here today, they are doing this already in their area of impact, and it also helps creating better decisions. Mr. Timothy, what can rector say? Well, let me not say education. Let me take a broader view. It's about opportunities, and education is just one tool that creates these opportunities for people to then take this initiative over and create their own opportunities. So I'll say opportunities rule. Mr. Sergey, I represent the private business, therefore I will not recommend anything to the state, but as a businessman, I believe that we need to start with ourselves. We want to make ourselves attractive so that people want to come to us to work, and it will be a magnet that will also draw people from abroad. We do have such people that are currently working for us from abroad. Work UA, what do you say? I believe that we need to create senses. We need to create values for people so that they know what their company is creating, what is the value added that they get once they go to work for this company. This will be the foundation for corporate culture. Make this internal training and internal upbringing and education to cover up what the typical education system may miss, and to share these practices to the broader public. Kirill, what about you? We do not have any other way but create a modern, contemporary, successful state, because otherwise it will just not exist. We do need to understand that our nation is now divided in half. Half of them, half of the people are now abroad, and we need to create a country where you can be someone, and we need to stand up to the promise. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your work, for your messages, for your optimism. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you.